We have a heat map at ADL where we track incidents of anti-Semitism, hate crimes, extremist activity of all types. And I'm always reminded, as we're trying to explain to the public the trends that we're seeing, that each one of those points on a map, over 5,000 now over the last 2 years, is a story of community resilience, right? Is a story of people coming together and rejecting that hate. And to your point about the media, I think we need to start telling more inspiring stories. And because when we hear that, that also has an impact. And that also maybe creates courage amongst people to hold all those who are purveyors of hate accountable, whether they're in your local community or whether they're in the highest office, right? We all have a voice, and we need to constantly support all those in our communities to show that hate really does have no place here. So you don't do this work for 20 years without having some sort of hope that things will get better. But I think the data and I think the training, whether it's for law enforcement, students, et cetera, will help make those dots a little bit more actionable, and you're turning basically lemons into lemonade.
Two quick things. Governor Doyle talked about interactions of African Americans with the police. I and other colleagues published a paper last year in Lancet that shows that when police killed an unarmed African American male, the mental health of the entire African American population in that state is adversely affected for the next 3 months. So again, it's another example of this is affecting the quality of life of individuals here. And finally, my other quick point is that this environment of hate, it's not only about individual interaction, it is driving social policy. And we are leaning towards policies. There are policy proposals right now in Washington, D.C. that will destroy the social safety net as we know it today. And we don't have to guess about what would happen. In 1981, the Omnibus Reconciliation Bill, early in the Reagan administration, let 1 million people lose food stamps and 600,000 people were dropped from Medicaid, and 250 community health centers closed in the United States as a result to cuts to social services, and there were pervasive negative effects on children, on pregnant women, on the elderly in the United States. So we have to look not only at our interactions, we have to look at the policies that we decide, driven by false narratives.
I'll also share just two quick thoughts. First, addressing the online space. Again, I think these internet platforms are designed the way they are because they're designed to increase engagement. And there's no regulatory regime that sits above them right now that tells them, no, you can't do that. You can't spread hate. You can't spread discrimination. One example, LaTanya Sweeney, a professor of computer science here at Harvard, searched for her name on Google, and I believe the story that she reported is that she saw an ad for jails because Google inferred that her name is associated with African American heritage and thought that, hey, we should show her this ad. In another example, Google, when kids were searching for gorillas on Google Images, people saw images of minorities in the United States. These systems are designed to drive engagement because they want Professor Sweeney to click on that ad because they think that that's going to drive engagement. They want people to, they design these algorithms in ways that encourages clicks and encourages bigger ad spend. So my first point is that we need to address that system. We need our leadership to understand how these systems work and start to address them at their core. Second point is just a broader one, which is that I think our leaders in society, from politicians to actors and actresses, thought leaders, need to be more honest and need to speak up. I think just one example, this didn't come up yet, but with Liam Neeson we've seen over the past few days. I want to highlight not just what he said, which was honest to the public, which I appreciate at some level, but also what a soccer player, John Barnes, of African origin, but who played in England, how his reaction to Liam Neeson, and his reaction was one of great appreciation for the honesty, instead of just kind of the the traditional media reaction, which was that, wow, Liam Neeson is a horrible person, and we need to vilify him. So I would appreciate more honesty. We've seen that in the U.S. Congress as well over the past week. So just 2 quick points. Thank you.
Maureen?
Okay. I think we're going to win or lose this battle in the schools, basically. If we do not orient our schools towards the vision that they are, in fact, building the society that we're going to live in the future, we have lost. We've been focusing a lot in schools on college and career readiness, and we really have to focus on kind of social and emotional readiness as well. I mean, the ideal policy change is to really make integration a focus of our school policy. But if we can't go there, then we really need to make sure that young people have digital intelligence so that they know not only how to interpret material that comes to them as consumers, but that they also learn how to be productive producers for social media. I think at the end of the day, I'm reminded of the phrase that Dr. King used in his last book, which is that we have a choice between chaos and community. And what we've been talking about so much is isolation. Hate grows in isolation. And schools are places of community. And so everything that we need to do is deliberate teaching about the kind of discrimination that exists, not pretending it doesn't exist, admitting that we've all been socialized to be racists. And I think it's particularly an issue in schools because 80% of the of teachers are white women. And I'm very fond of white women, but they carry with them, we all carry with us implicit biases. It's one of the issues that a lot of good police training has tried to address, and it's something we have to address with teachers as well. But we really, really need to decide that this next generation has to be better than we are generally.
And Jim, in Wisconsin, please, your last words. Well, not your last words. your words today.
Well, I agree with everything that's just been said. I had a friend, a European, say to me recently, whatever happened to your country? And he went off about how bad everything was. I said, well, remember, this is a country that just a few years ago you were cheering because of the election of Barack Obama as president. And it's not like everybody just suddenly moved out of this country and a whole new group, new people moved in. But what happened is we are a complicated country. And while we've talked about the problems here, we are a country of great tolerance and of acceptance. And in our schools and churches, and much of the work that's being done here, police officers all across the country are doing really, really important things on this. So I'm going to end this, if I could, just politically, which is in Wisconsin, and we weren't unique. In this last election, in November, we had more people vote in an off-year election than at any time since the Second World War, and a massive turnout at presidential levels. And it was a very, very close vote. And I will say the person I wanted to win won, but that's beside the point. The point is, we do have a very, very engaged political world right now. And all of the education we've talked about, the issues of implicit bias, of tolerance, the more we talk about that in all the ways we've talked about here today, really affect how current voters and younger people who are going to be becoming voters will vote. And that's how in a democracy, back to Professor Williams' comments about the policies that make the difference, that's how we try to make sure the policies we want are effectuated. And so it is really critical that we have a very, very engaged political body. And I'll give President Trump credit for this. He has truly engaged the American people. And we are seeing voting turnout like we have never seen before. And that's a good thing. And that politically is the way you address these issues.
Jim, thank you. And on that note, I want to thank our panel, Jim, Maureen, Dipayan, David and Oren. And I'd like to thank you, our audience, for taking part in this forum.